our View from the Top moderator and Axios publisher, Nicholas Johnston.
Of Axios. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your morning to join us today. We're very grateful for all of you being here. We're also hugely grateful for all of our partners at Axios. Nothing we do at Axios is possible without the support of our partners. The investments we make in journalism around the country, awesome events like this. So huge thanks to United Launch Alliance for making today possible. And I'm actually super excited to welcome to this stage for a View from the Top conversation, the CEO of United Launch Alliance, Tory Bruno. Tory, welcome to the stage. Good morning, sir. How are you? Always fun talking about space, but I think we should best maybe start big picture. Why is a conversation about satellite space and security so important right now?
Oh my gosh. We are in a race right now with China in space because for China, space unlocks the invasion of Taiwan.
So go deeper on then, what do we need to do about that? Like sketch out the challenges that presents.
Well, you know, Senator Slotkin actually touched on this already.
Yeah.
Without space, we don't have basic military operations. It's not a force enabler anymore. It's the basic capability that allows us to operate. And so when China looks at a conflict with the US here on Earth, space is the thing that levels the playing field. Our Navy and Air Force is formidable. So that conflict actually starts in space, and then that opens that door. And that race right now is that China has been investing billions of dollars and years to build anti-satellite weapons.
Right.
Every single day, they are designing, building, and fielding more. And we are trying to balance that out by making our systems less vulnerable. And right now, our strategy has been resiliency, which primarily means for us being able to absorb attacks, take those hits, and keep going. And we're doing that primarily in LEO. But that's only half a strategy.
Right.
At some point, you can't just keep absorbing damage. You got to defend yourself. You got to fight back. And that's where we really got to catch up.
Let's go a little bit more, like when we talked before, there was a phrase you used which was really interesting, like the framing of space as, it used to be a nice to have, now it's a need to have. Do you think like the giant industrial space complex in the United States, the political complex has like caught up to that conclusion, or are you still sort of pushing that argument?
I would say that light bulb is just starting to glow.
The glimmer, maybe, it's not on.
We went for a long time while China was investing because we were distracted by the global war on terror. And so they were stealing technology from us and developing capabilities. We've only just kind of woken up to this problem and realized we are behind.
What does that look like in a practical sense? You know, like the senator, you know, was pressed a little bit on like when this might actually flare up in China and around Taiwan. What are those capabilities that we can paint a picture of like what we have now and what we need to prepare for that, and how a conflict like that with China?
Yeah, sure. So what we have now are a blending of, I'll call it, very capable, exquisite satellites on orbit that are few in number, which makes them kind of a juicy target, and an increasingly disaggregation of those functions into smaller, less capable, but network satellites. Mm-hmm. And the idea is have lots and lots of targets and make it more difficult to bring down the whole capability. And that's that sort of race we're in right now. They're putting up weapons, we're putting up targets, and we're staying just
you hope you
ahead
have
of
more
them.
targets than they have weapons, so some
Right.
of them less, right.
But that's not going to work indefinitely. So now, under this administration, we are allowed to look at counterforce, which is a term of art. It really means, can you shoot back and defend yourself? Because sooner or later, you got to make them stop shooting at you, or they will degrade that capability.
Right.
The problem is, or one of the problems, I should say, is that you know, the most obvious and easiest place to disaggregate first is in low Earth orbit. And the reason that's a problem is because it is very accessible.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes away by rocket, it's LA to San Francisco, and they are investing in that. Our technology is still better. So I've heard a lot of people say, oh, they're way ahead of us in space. I think it's important to understand that the foundational technology is at least 2 generations ahead of them. Where we're behind is applying the technologies they've acquired largely from us
Right.
to weapons in space.
We're ahead now. How long will that last? Is this a race?
It is a race, and we got about 5-8 years top.
5 to 8 years. All right. So like we're here in the shadow of the Capitol. Like what I love about Axios events is when we have topics like this on this policy, the people who care are the ones who show up. They're the ones who affect the policy, or at least think they do. Maybe their bosses do. What's their advice for them? How can they help ensure that lead remains?
Keep doing what we're doing and pivot to this counterforce mission. And don't forget that the great power of our system is this partnership between government and industry. We don't have a directed economy. We don't have top-down control of what gets developed. We have room for innovation. And especially when we're in threat, the bigger and broader the industrial base, the better.
Let's talk about the people who are paying attention here. You mentioned the administration has slightly better tack on this. How is the Pentagon? How can the Hill help?
Well, the Pentagon has finally got a branch. It's got a Space Force.
Right.
That is so important because not only is space critical, like we just talked about, without it we can't do basic military operations. The domain, the tools, even how you acquire things is just completely different
Right.
than sea or land. So you need that ability to specialize. But they're still just a brand new service. They're trying to grow. They need way more resources than they have. I think if you do it in real terms, you would understand that their budget's probably declining. It ought to be just growing and growing so that we can get in front of this power curve. Congress plays the role in enabling that, obviously.
So the homework for Hill staff here when they go back up to their bosses is head to the Appropriations Committee. It needs more money. This needs to be funded
Yes.
to keep this kind of
You
lead.
need funding and you need programs.
Right. Let's spin this forward. What does this look like in the ideal state in the future? Like if Space Force is supported like that, what does space look like 10, 15 years?
Yeah, it is understood to be a mature warfighting domain, and we have targets that are targets. We have capabilities that are sufficiently robust that they're difficult to address, and we have an ability to protect them, and therefore they are deterred from even starting an aggression in space. We have all of the norms that we have at sea, in the air, and in the nuclear world so that we know what we're saying to each other when actions are taken, and that locks down terrestrial conflict here because, again, to level the playing field, an adversary like China will start the conflict in space. If they can't start, they can't go.
There's a framing you used before that I want you to use again here because I think it was so interesting about the rules that the Navy has created in the sea, we need to create in space. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're at sea on a military vessel and someone blocks your path, a shot across your bow, all of these things are clear communications that have been established literally at sea over centuries. You know exactly what you're being told, and you know exactly what the next ladder of escalation is going to be should you choose to climb it. We have none of that in space, and that leaves us at risk to misunderstandings. So if a Chinese inspector satellite approaches a critical U.S. asset and comes very close to it, could physically interact with it, what are we going to do? Do they know that we might react to that as if it were a threat or an attack on our sovereign territory? If they don't know, that's a problem.
So it's important, like the action and analysis, start to figure that out. We're about to get the hook, but I'd actually like to end on one fun thing. So I want to end on one space thing up here. We were talking earlier, but I'm trying to get my kids excited at space. I'm excited at space because I remember the first space shuttle launch. You have a better first space memory.
I'm a little bit older than you, Nick. I can remember sitting cross-legged on the floor, staring at a black and white TV and seeing Neil Armstrong step onto
Probably the best kind of space memory. Well, that's awesome. Something to keep focusing on. Tori, thank you so much for being here today. Huge thanks to United Launch Alliance for making this possible. We're going to bring Colin back up for the big finish.